Alright, just to expose Bryan Denlinger's blatant hypocrisy on rebukes against him. So in this first clip I'm going to show you, because Bryan Denlinger has just contradicted himself on so many different areas. If I could list out all those contradictions, it'd be a pretty long list, to say the least. There's areas where he's blatantly contradicted himself, went against older stands that he takes without ever retracting those stances. Even contradicting himself in the same video. He'll say one thing, and a few minutes later of the same video, he'll say something directly contrary. I mean, it's just insanity. But here's one really blaring contradiction when it comes to rebukes on him. In his first clip I'm going to show, he justifies making 50-part studies exposing Steven Anderson, which, hey, I've done a lot of video. I've done about over 70 videos exposing Anderson's new IFB cult. So I have no problem with him doing that, but just the hypocrisy where he justifies making 50-part studies on Anderson, 50-part series, and then has over 100 videos on Anderson, but then later gets upset if someone does that back to him. So watch this first clip.
So that's one of the points that Anderson brings up. He says that I'm obsessed with him. I'm obsessed with truth, okay, and defending truth and defending against liars like Steven Anderson. But, he'll do 50 points, post-trib moments, 50 marching design moments, or whatever they were called. I hate the Jew moments, whatever. And he hates the Jews, although we're the Jews. It's funny. But, and then, people say, could you refute each one? Well, I do. That's why the videos really stack up.
Now watch as he contradicts himself in this next clip I'm going to play. He is talking about Eric John Phelps, and then he mentions about, he basically is against the idea of, doing 20-part studies against Denlinger and that kind of stuff. So wait a second, it's okay for Denlinger to do 50-part videos, 50-part studies against Anderson, but then it's wrong when somebody does, 10 or 20-part studies against Denlinger. Okay, watch as he just contradicts himself. Okay, get a load of this.
So, what am I doing about Eric Phelps? Nothing. He wants to continue talking about the Jesuits and whatever else. Well, good. Praise the Lord for that. You do your own thing. I'm doing my own thing. He's not coming out with 20-part study on why Denlinger is a heretic. He can go do his thing. I'm going to go do my thing. He has his foundation. I have my foundation. He has a ministry. I have a ministry.
So and by the way too, he's now since come out and said that Eric John Phelps is lost, but this was back before he thought Eric Phelps was lost. But he's saying Eric Phelps is not doing 20-part studies against Denlinger as if it's a bad thing, essentially. That's what he's implying there. But he does that to Anderson. But see, to any Denlinger followers who are listening to this video, which I guarantee you they're going to be watching, because why? And by the way, I used to follow Bryan's ministry. After I got out of the new IFB cult, I used to follow Bryan's ministry. His followers are a lot of his followers are just huge respecters of persons towards Bryan, and they just can't stand to hear anything against Bryan. Anyone who comes out and rebukes Bryan, they just don't like that. Because both of them they're both cults. I'll put it that way. The one thing that all cults believe, and you say a lot of people are a cult. Yeah, because the one thing that all cults believe is that you just don't dare speak against the leader. If you speak against the leader, you speak against the head preacher, you're horrible, you're on your way to hell, you're lost. And I've had his followers call me lost for speaking against Bryan Denlinger. That's why I say it is a cult, just like the new IFB. And there's many false religions that qualify as a cult, hence why I use that word so much. But I want to point that out. So it's okay when Bryan does it, but then if someone does it back to Bryan, it's somehow wrong. And again, I guarantee you his followers are going to be watching this because, and again, if you're one of his followers, how can you look at this blatant hypocrisy and still think that you're a horrible person if you rebuke it? You see, Bryan's followers love pointing out everyone else's sin, but whenever you point out Bryan's own errors, they don't quite like that. So I wanted to show you guys that. That's Bryan Denlinger for you. He's a hypocrite in so many different areas. Luke chapter 12 verse 1-3 talks about how the leaven of the Pharisees is hypocrisy. Also Matthew chapter 23 verse 13 down to verse 34, I believe it is, also deals with the hypocrisy of the Pharisees. And that's Bryan Denlinger. He is sadly a modern day Pharisee in his conduct and behavior. So don't be deceived. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with all the brethren. Goodbye. you.